damn it, Sean.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Alex, and joining me tonight, I have our poser extraordinaire, Nitai.
This Glen Grant single malt is like fucking awesome. I'm so glad I brought it on.
Yes, he has been drinking for the last hour or so before we started recording, so brace yourselves for that. And tonight, we are going to be doing our 5th review of JoJo's Part 5.
The penultimate review, some would say.
The penultimate review. This review will cover episodes 29 through 33 of the David Productions anime adaptation of JoJo's Part 5. This also is the least amount of episodes we've covered in one of these reviews that we've been doing. We're only talking about 5 episodes. So, and it only really encompasses one major fight, and that is the Green Day and Oasis fight. Nitai.
But also, we do cover a bit of whatever comes next, which is also awesome. So
it is pretty damn awesome.
It'll be great.
But let's first talk about the Green Day and Oasis fight.
Right. So okay, let's get into it. This fight is fucking awesome. I'm in love with this fight.
Yeah, it's you were talking about it beforehand. It's a large scale fight because it takes place over a couple of different cities.
Yeah, and it's so okay. So Part 5 already had some pretty fucking big fights, like Grateful Dead and Beach Boys was huge, and then Araki is like, okay, let's just bring down an entire city to the ground because fuck it, why not? So that's cool. So I like that.
It's fun. It's funny that you mentioned the Beach Boy and Grateful Dead fight because I was thinking about that the other day, and I thought, there's a lot about this that harkens to. Have you ever heard of have you ever read the story Murder on the Orient Express?
No, I haven't actually. Tell me about it.
It's a lot like that. It's almost like, so it takes place on a train, obviously, the Orient Express, and it's about trying to figure out who's murdered someone on a train. In this case, it's murdering a bunch of people on a train, but
a whole lot of them. I don't know if murdering, but aging them.
Yeah. But the thing I equate to that is the sense of urgency that it has.
Sure.
Because Murder on the Orient Express has a bunch of urgency, and it's in a confined space.
Which is really cool.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I figured I should bring that up.
Yeah, it's really cool. It sets up this interesting fights that it's like a race against the clock because every minute that the protagonist isn't taking action, something bad is happening. In JoJo's case, it's people are dying of old age, which is really cool. It's such a unique setup. I like it.
But Green Day and Oasis.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we arrive at the city. It's like, oh, things are looking great, and it's okay. The coast is clear. Oh shit, this guy is growing mold all around him. That's weird. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can't really talk about Green Day and Oasis without talking about the stand users, Chocolata and Seko.
Which are fabulous.
Pretty fucking crazy. Chocolata's backstory is insane, to say the least. He's set up to be this really brilliant person, which he is. He's a medical doctor who likes to experiment on his patients.
Oh, I love that scene where he's approaching this old guy and it's like, your family doesn't love you. It's just driving him crazy towards suicide.
But see, that scene tells you all you need to know about Chocolata. He's a sociopath.
Yeah, and I like that because the boss is a pretty fucked up character, right? He I don't know what happened in that flashback, but whatever happened of him burning his own mother and stuff and tying her mouth shut or whatever. The fact that this type of guy is claiming that Chocolate and Seko are filth, quote, filth, is saying a lot.
Yeah.
I like that he talks to Doppio and it's like, okay, I wouldn't talk to these filths if it wasn't that bad. It's like, okay, I get what you're saying.
But yeah, Chocolata is a great character study in sociopathic characters because he clearly doesn't care about anyone but himself, and he acts like he cares about Seko, but he doesn't.
But he sort of does because he is fascinated with people, That's something that is true to him. He is fascinated with people sort of dying, but he is, and to that extent, he is fascinated with Seko as sort of a quote-unquote patient, I guess.
I guess, but that's still not a healthy doctor-patient
Of
relationship.
course not. And later on, it's like we'll get to the end of the fight later on, but there is some sort of interaction with Seko that is pretty interesting. Well, we'll get to that later. So
Yeah.
let's
So
keep
what
that
do
in
you
mind.
think about their actual stand abilities, the Green Day and Oasis,
I mean, you mean
in comparison to what we've seen
Green
so far in
Tea
Part
and
5?
Sanctuary? You mean?
Green Tea and Sanctuary.
Listen, I love these stands. It's like I like that we only got. I mean, so far I don't know what comes later, but we only got so far only 2 stands, which are sort of armor, I guess, with the White Little Beam and Oasis. But they're cool and they're different, and I like that sort of approach to like fights. But Green Day specifically is such a like cool stand. It's because like you see that escalation in the fight. With first, it's like okay, we can't go down, otherwise we'll get the mold. Okay, cool. But later on with the fight, I mean, we skip around, but later on in the fight, it's like okay, now Chocolata is in a helicopter and we're all fucked. It's such a cool setup. Like
Yeah.
it's the classic stand scenario. You have a specific ability with a specific condition that it's like, oh, your ability, like this ability sucks, but in this condition, it's going to ruin your day. It's such a cool like premise.
Yeah,
Bless
and
Araki.
it's also the protagonist having to strategize their way out of the situation they find themselves in. I mean, this 3-part fight, because it takes place over 3 episodes,
Which
is
is
classic JoJo's stand battle.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's actually it harkens back a lot to some of the stand battles of Part 3. How you had to use the protagonists had to use their powers in a specific way to get past the baddie.
Sure, for sure, but it does, and it's like, but it still retains that later Araki flavor of this is super specific and even weirder than usual. Because when you look back at Part 3, it's super vanilla, which it's okay because you know it's like the first part that delves into stands. But yeah, this fight is fucking awesome. It's so good how it evolves and just keeps going. It's because you have this sort of first victory at the first city they're in, and then they drive past this sort of fight and go to Rome and to the Colosseum specifically, and how the fight escalates, and suddenly you see people in the streets affected by the mold, and now it's like, oh shit, I mean, if we don't stop Chocolata, a lot of people are gonna die, which is like, I don't know how much the gang cares about it, but I think they do, so it's like, okay, cool. But yeah, this fight is so like...
Well, yeah, they clearly care about the collateral damage because they're trying to stop it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't like to use that word often, but this sort of fight is so epic and grand scale, which is such a departure, sort of, you know?
Well, and it also feels like there's way more at stake than just the lives of the characters in this fight.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, specifically, a certain character we'll get to later, but yeah, there's so much more at stake in this fight specifically, which is really cool. I like that. Speaking
of a certain specific character, should we talk about Le Zombie Bruno?
Yeah, let's talk about him.
So
it was hinted for a while.
Yeah, it's hinted that he's kind of a walking corpse, and it's pretty much confirmed by this point because he keeps getting hurt, yet not being hurt.
Which I'm totally okay with, because back when Bruno faced King Crimson for the first time, I sort of had this issue with Jono bringing him back because it felt sort of cheap. But the fact he is a zombie and is probably not going to make it till the end of the part, which is sad, but it does feel right, you know? It's tragic, but it's right. It feels right to me.
Oh, yeah. You definitely got it right. It's tragic, but it's almost like it's giving him a second chance to redeem himself.
Yeah, which is cool. Like, you know, he is, like, he does think of the team as his family. He does want them to, like, be, like, in the best possible position. And
yeah,
we'll see in the next few episodes. I mean, you've read the manga, you know, but I don't. We'll see how far he'll go for them, but I'm sure it'll be brutal and sad, and I'm gonna cry and bring the towels. I don't know.
So there is something we're gonna talk about in just a few minutes that kind of relates to this too. We can go ahead and talk about it now if you want. But is this whole Bruno the Zombie thing like the ultimate literal death flag?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's no way he's returning from the grave.
So you don't see him being at the end of the story?
No, I mean, maybe in the final, but I don't see him, like, living past this part, you know?
Yeah.
There's no way. Like, I'll be happy if he does, but I don't think he wants to as a zombie, because that fucking sucks.
Well, I mean, there's also the thing where he's talking,
To Trish.
he thinks he's talking to Trish about his place that she can stay at. Like, there is no other more clear death flag in anime than someone talking about what do we do after we're done with this.
That scene
if someone starts talking about that, they're fucked.
Yeah, that scene specifically, it was such a sucker punch, because because you just, like, throughout the part you knew that Bruno cares about his teammates. He wants them to just be, like, in the best place possible. He wants them to be good. And that scene is like, even Trish, which is sort of an outsider for the gang, he still cares about her, and he wants her to be, like, just be safe, you know? It's such a, I don't know, Bruno daddy.
He clearly cares more about Trish than her own father does, the boss. So yeah, it's you see that and you're like, oh fuck, man, Araki.
He's a special case, though.
But yeah, getting back to the Green Day Oasis fight, the one of the conclusions of that fight, the conclusion with Chocolata and Green Day, the 7-page Muda, we got to talk about it.
So, for you as a manga reader, how was it first reading it and then watching it getting adapted?
It was really quick to read it because it's literally 7 pages of Giorno going Muda, 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 Muda. Yeah. It was really easy to... The art in that is... in that part of the manga is really good. If you notice if you watch through all of the ED... for that episode, there's actually a specific section of that ED with credits listed. It's called what was it called? It was called the Muda Muda Key Animators.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's so good. Like,
and there was I think there was 8 people that worked just on that scene.
And also, I saw this tweet by the guy who voices Giorno, who was like, "Yeah, this is the script for this episode. It's just pages and pages of Muda. It's so good."
Yeah. I think I also read something that the guy who voices the Seiyu that voices Giorno, like, almost got to the point where he thought his voice was going to crack while they were recording it. Which, I mean, props to him for keeping going, I guess.
Yeah, that section for me was... Because I heard somewhere along the line, like, something that there is a 7-page Muda, and I was like, okay, whatever. Excuse me. But... when we actually got to it, it really harkens back to the Steely Dan fight in part 3, which is like, you have this despicable villain that you just want to punch right in the face, and then you get this, like, payoff, and it's such a satisfying conclusion to the fight, which it feels so good, and the music and the sound design specifically, it's so good. God damn.
Yeah. I'm so glad it was animated well, because I knew it was coming up at some point, and I thought, this can go so bad so easily. I am surprised that we're getting close to the end here. We got 6 episodes left to go?
Yeah, 6 episodes.
Yeah, I'm so surprised we have yet to see any noticeable drop in animation quality.
Like, there were some cut corners, but
yeah, I can tell there's one or two. There have been 1 or 2 cut corners here and there, but by and large, it
still looks great.
There's way less cut corners in this than there were in part 4.
Yeah, for sure. Like, Seko's ass didn't look as glorious as it is in past episodes, but still.
True. Very. Jesus Christ. Now I'm gonna have to go look for some fan art.
God damn it. Speaking of Seko.
Yeah, should we talk about how the Green Day Oasis fight actually ends?
Yeah, so after, like, we beat the shit out of Chocolate, which was super awesome, we did get a bit more of Bruno against Seko, which was so weird, because it's like, okay, this fight takes place underground, and Seko is swimming through it, which is cool, and then you see Bruno, like, stepping through, like, walls of zippers and stuff.
Sticky fingers!
It's so weird, and I love it. It's so strange.
Yeah, and that's also the part, I think, where Bruno starts to realize that something's really not right with me.
I mean, in the previous episode, he sort of tells Journal straight up, it's like, oh yeah, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
But
I think he's finally accepted, and it's like, all right, if
yeah,
this is the way
exactly.
it's
He's
it's
like
the way it's
accepting
going
his
to be.
death, which is
Yeah.
sad. But like that whole fight also, like I can't stress it enough. The sound design of the past few episodes is like top notch, because like,
For
okay,
sure.
you have a guy swimming through the ground. How do you convey that in a sound? And it's so like, it's so brilliant how they use it. I can't like,
Well, and how I don't know if you noticed this, but any of the scenes that took place underground, the sound was all muffled.
yeah, which is, it's so good. God damn.
It's the little things like that. Like, that's what I'm saying. This is by far, in my opinion. Well, obviously we're not done with this anime adaptation yet, but
Sure.
in my personal opinion, as an anime or as a manga reader, this anime adaptation of Part 5 is the best anime adaptation of any part of the manga so far.
For sure. I don't know if this is my favorite part yet. I really don't know. It's probably up there, but in terms of like, if I look at it objectively, like this season is the best one so far. Easy.
Yeah. In terms of just sheer like art quality and sound design,
Right.
it's got to be the best.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
For
as
sure.
a manga reader.
Man, you probably
yeah,
feel so good because Part 5 is your favorite, right?
Part 5 is my favorite part of the manga so far. Obviously Part 8 isn't done yet, and God help us if it ever gets done.
It'll probably be done soon.
But yeah, I think even Part 8, I'm sort of I like it because it's JoJo's, but it's certainly not my favorite part at all.
Okay.
But yeah, Part 5 is my favorite part of the manga.
So you must feel really like, I don't know, satisfied with how this
I'm
adaptation
incredibly
is going.
satisfied. Although I went into this with very high hopes because I know that in Japan, Part 5 is also the most liked part of the manga.
Right.
So I think there was an extra emphasis on David Productions to get this part as right as possible.
Because I think I read somewhere the director said this is his favorite part. So I think that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is cool, because for the longest time, I don't know why, it felt like the discourse around Part 5 was, this is the part where it gets kind of worse. I have no clue why, because it's so good. It's so good. I don't know if it's related to the scans that were released, or maybe they were like lower quality. I don't know. Maybe people just weren't okay with characters feeling more quote unquote gay. I don't know. But this part is so good, dude. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, it depends on how it ends, but so far Part 4 is my favorite. Not gonna lie, but Part 5 is like super close to it.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing how you think the story ends, because
Sure.
For most people that I've talked to, and of course I'm only talking to Western fans of JoJo's, that either love or hate Part 5. Like, there really isn't a huge amount of people that are in the middle. Like, they kind of like, it's okay, but it's not my favorite. You either love it or hate it. Kind of the same thing with Part 6.
Is there a reason people don't like it? Like, what kind of arguments did you hear?
No, I think for a long time there really weren't any English scans of Part 5. I think being able to actually read it in the West, at least in English, is a somewhat new thing.
Right.
I don't think there were reliable English scans until about maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years ago.
I think that's a big factor for sure.
Maybe. But getting back to this actual fight. Back on track. We went on a big tangent there. So this whole fight, Green Day and Oasis fight, leads them to being at the Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah.
Now,
which is
why
awesome.
are they at the Colosseum, Natsai?
We got our Pulpo back. I mean, not Pulpo, but Polnareff. God damn.
It's your boy, Polnareff.
I missed him so much. So, throughout I had a feeling, I mean, you sort of told me that maybe there's a returning character, but damn, seeing Polnareff back again made me feel so good inside, because I missed that toilet boy.
Yes, Toilet Boy is back, however briefly.
Yeah, but we did get an explanation why it looks so messed up, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But it's cool, that tease at the end of the episode with him, like, with the, oh, fuck, I'm blinking on the word, but him looking at the fight from a distance was such a cool tease.
Through the binoculars.
Yeah, binoculars, thank you.
Yeah, and
I'm
the funny
tipsy,
thing
as
is,
you can guess.
I thought I realized this. I obviously this is in the manga too, but I realized this as I was watching the anime. You know, when he's looking at the laptop before everyone gets to the Coliseum, and it's showing the members of Passione.
Right.
You know, there's only one person it doesn't show. Well, actually,
Right.
there was two, but there's really only one. It doesn't show Fugo.
Araki just doesn't
how
care.
How the fuck does Polnareff know that he left him?
It's okay. Who cares? I mean, I care because I loved Fugo, but whatever.
I just thought that was a funny little detail. It was probably an Araki forgot moment, though.
Side note, though. Do you think they'll do an OVA for Purple Haze Feedback? Because I haven't read it yet, but I know it's a book that exists, so...
Yeah, they might. I would watch it. It's not bad. I'd watch it, yeah. I would. Maybe they will in between doing a part 5 and part 6 adaptation. I do not know.
Who knows? But anyway, back to the show. Yeah, that was such a fun tease to see him back, and it's the same voice actor, but I like how he approached the character more. Yeah, he changed his voice a bit to
made him sound older and like more world weary.
Yeah, which is funny because he's only 36 years old, which isn't that old, but like shit happened to him. He's in a wheelchair for crying out loud,
and he's wearing a really classy monocle.
He does. God bless him. I missed him.
I love Polnareff. I was so glad that Araki decided to bring him back for part 5.
Which is so cool because, like, the first thought I had in mind after, holy shit, it's Polnareff, was, wait, how does Silver Chariot work in this part? Because, again, back to what we said, part 3 had pretty vanilla stands, right?
Yeah.
But once he, like, brings out Chariot, it's so genius how Araki uses that stand. I love the way he utilizes it.
Oh yeah, for sure. It uses it in a way you haven't seen it utilized before.
Yeah,
and that was fun to see.
Cool. I can't contain myself.
But so the reveal of Diavolo, because that's what happens.
Oh, my stripper Italian boy.
Yes. I definitely want to talk about some of the symbology you see in this. It's certainly a callback to part 3 where you have Polnareff on the stairs looking at the main villain for the part.
Right.
In part 3, you had Polnareff looking up the stairs at Dio. Dio means God in Italian. In this, you have Polnareff looking down the stairs at Diavolo. Diavolo means devil or demon in Italian.
It's such a cool
I thought the
detail.
Symbology of that was the very simple symbology of that was actually really elegant, to be honest. I don't know if that was intentional on Araki's part.
Detail, like,
if it was, it's genius.
God,
Even if it wasn't, it's genius.
Like we're jumping around, like, and also
number
the
one,
way
a
we
great
got to
callback
this thing
to
because
the reveal of Dio
like,
in part 3.
I remember when I watched the fight with like Bruno and Sego finding each other.
Bring the symbology of what the characters think of the villain that they're fighting.
Yeah, exactly.
Because clearly in part 3, everyone had to look up to Dio because his stand was so much more powerful than everyone else's.
Yeah.
But in this, they're looking down at Diavolo in contempt.
Yeah, and
it's great symbology.
Yeah, it's such a cool callback to part 3, and also we have a shit ton of callbacks to part 3. Honestly, like seeing Polnareff and Jotaro, which is cool seeing him in part 5's art style, but seeing the like looking for these arrows and then realizing.
Don't spill your fucking alcohol.
I'll put it like further away from me. Sorry. What was it? Yeah. So, and seeing them like look for all these stand arrows, which also we kind of know the origin of, which I guess like space magic, so whatever. Okay. And
yeah, I was curious as to what you thought about the actual explanation of the stand arrow origin.
So it's kind of, I'm okay with it because it sort of makes sense that only like a portion of people sort of react to it in the sense that their stand awakens. It's like, okay, I can buy it. It's like whatever. It sort of calls back to Holly sort of stands taking over her, but whatever. It's strange, but I don't mind it. Also, shout out for David Production for using Stars Crusaders main theme while Polnareff was explaining that whole situation on the
Yeah.
laptop.
Thought that was cool too.
That was so cool, and them using the silhouettes. Oh God. Anyway, I like that, and seeing Jotaro and what is it?
I was just saying, there was a pause, and it's like, oh, I'm just talk now. I was just listening to the episode.
But anyway, like seeing Jotaro and Polnareff like searching all over the world for like seeing like these arrows, where they originated from and what's the whole deal with them. Like I'm guessing we'll get an explanation where Jotaro was at that time. But when Polnareff was facing off the boss, it's such a cool scene because it's like for Polnareff, Diablo is like way beyond whatever he faced at that time. Like we'll not get to their fight later on, but it's like he fucks him up. Gee.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens when Polnareff faces Diavolo is he stabs Silver Chariot with Stand Arrow. And
wait, that's later on though. Back in the original fight though, he cuts both of his legs.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the
I was talking
fight.
about the original fight.
So like cuts both of his legs off, and I think one of his arms too, or a hand.
Yeah, I think so. My tipsy mind is having a hard time remembering. But yeah.
Yeah, the original fight was, well, the ending of that was kind of brutal.
Yeah, for sure. I have no idea how Polnareff survived it, but God bless him.
Because Araki said so.
Before we get to that fight, I do want to highlight one specific thing. So, the episode where the end of the fight between Bruno and Seko, I want to highlight this one specific scene. So I was watching it with a buddy of mine, and the moment Doppio walked into the scene, I was like, this is fucking genius. Because you have Seko and you have Bruno facing each other, and then you have this supposedly citizen walking into this fight. But Seko isn't aware that he is about to kill his boss, and Bruno isn't aware he's about to save the boss, right? Mm-hmm. And Doppio is all like, just, I don't know how to like word it, but he's just like taking all of this in and like about to get killed, but then Bruno saves him. And it's such a brilliant scene, right? Because you have the main villain of the story like caught in between this fight, which is like, it's so good, right?
Yeah. It's almost, you would, if it were any less of a writer, I would say that it's just using convenience as like a hedge for bad writing, but it seems very believable.
Yeah, because I don't think this is bad writing. I think it's excellent because you take your central villain and you shove it inside a fight. It sort of subverts your expectation, and so and also bring a whole new spin to the fight. Because Doppio in his mind, it's like, oh shit, this is like one of the mercenaries we just talked to eliminate Bruno. But as like the fight ends, and side note, it's pretty cool that Seko ends up in the same trash truck as Chocolata.
Yeah, right.
I love that detail. But as the fight ends, and then Doppio is like talking to Bruno, it's like a whole mind game of, okay, I know this guy, I need to play him and understand where he's heading. And for Bruno, he's like, which, I don't know, Araki magic, but fuck it, whatever. It's like, oh, it's Trish! Which is such a cool, I love that episode, sorry.
No, it's a great detail. It's a great detail that plays really well into, the whole thing what we talked about before of Trish, or Bruno talking to Trish about his own plays, and it's like death flags everywhere.
Yeah, for sure.
So getting back to the Diavolo fight with Polnareff when they're at the Coliseum.
For sure.
So that fight ends more or less with Polnareff stabbing Silver Chariot with the stand arrow, and you see a big old bright flash of light, and then Polnareff falls over pretty much dead, and
my toilet boy
implied to be dead. But then the ending of that episode, you see Silver Chariot climbing up one of the walls.
Yeah.
Now, for all we know about stands, once a stand user dies, the stand is dead.
Which is weird, because towards the end, Silver Chariot begins to sort of liquefy, and I don't know why. And again, in a few days, the next episode is gonna air, and I think my questions will be answered. But it's such a, it's so weird because you have this vanilla stand with Silver Chariot, right? And it faces this King Crimson, which is such a advanced and broken, honestly, stand. And Polnareff still manages to like hold his ground. Like, I love that small detail where Polnareff is sort of like spilling this blood in order to see where it lands, in order to see where
if time is skipped.
Exactly, it's such a cool detail. Like, it's so genius.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think they pulled it off really well in the anime too. But just that last scene where you see Silver Chariot climbing up the wall, it's like, what's
so
gonna happen?
Weird. Yeah, what the fuck?
I thought you were dead.
And then like this cowboy Silver Chariot mix-up thing just shows up. It's like, oh, see you next week. Fuck you, eh?
Bye. So I think we're ramping up toward the final fight. As I said, there's only 6 episodes left.
Only.
I'm sure you're hype as hell to see how this is gonna finish out. So it looks like they're gonna spend the next 6 episodes on this final fight, minus whatever they use for like the epilogue in the last episode. I'm assuming we might get a new OP variation next week in line with how it's been in the past. When the final fight starts, you get the stand from the main villain stand fucks with the OP.
Which also, side note, it's cool that in this part we knew what the stand is capable of, but we didn't know who the stand user is, which is kind of a cool mix-up.
Yeah, it is. I have a theory. So we got a lot of play with this part with soundtracks, especially the fact that we have 2 EDs in this part, which is new for JoJo's. I have a feeling that the OP, screwing with the OP, might actually be done with the ED this time.
I have a theory actually that maybe midway through the OP, Fighting Gold is gonna kick in. I mean, I don't know how, but maybe. That's my theory.
Or it'll start out with Fighting Gold, and then halfway through it'll skip to the end of Trader's Requiem.
Yeah, I honestly haven't a clue. I mean, like, if you want to be very cynical and think about how they're gonna cut cost, I guess maybe they'll only add Diavolo in the OP. But honestly, I really hope that there is more to it. Either next week or the
we don't even
week
know
after
if it's
that.
Gonna happen next week.
Yeah, there's like 6 episodes left. I don't know when they will change the OP, but there's gotta be something there, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. They'll do something. I don't know what it'll be. And then of course the next to last episode always has all the previous OP singers get together and do like a combined version of the OP.
Yeah, in part 4, like the very final episode of the show was all of the singers coming along and singing. But here's the question to you. I have a strong feeling that all of the singers will sing Fighting Gold. Do you think it'll be Fighting Gold or Trader's Requiem? Which one?
It might be. They might go back to Fighting Gold, but it'll be like a big,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'll be.
I can't wait for Tommy to be like, Fighting
Gold!
Gold!
That would be great. That would be absolutely great. I'm obviously David Productions is great when it comes to stuff like this. I'm really looking forward to what they come up with.
Right.
They always come up with something that surprises us.
It'll be so good. Honestly, I can't wait. The last episode was the first time I was like, I can't wait 7 days for this shit. What the fuck? It's gonna be so good.
You waited 2.5 years for it. You can wait 7 days.
So, without giving much away, like, did you like the ending of part 5?
Yes.
I'm curious. Yes.
I did.
Okay. That's all I needed.
I thought the ending of part 5 was as satisfying as the ending of part 4 in the manga.
Ooh. We'll see. Maybe part 5
maybe not.
Will be
I would
my
say
favorite.
maybe not as thorough, but certainly as enjoyable.
We'll see. I'm super pumped. In a few days, the new episode will air, and we'll see what the fuck is going on with Silver Chariot. But I'm so pumped. it's so fun. I feel so great about being so pumped about a new JoJo episode. I don't know. Yeah.
It's great, man. I'm so glad that
This fucking
part is going
show,
over
dude.
so well.
It's so
Also,
good.
also worth pointing out that I don't think I mentioned this last time, but I actually noticed it before we started recording the last review we did, number 4, is that so far this is the highest rated JoJo's anime adaptation on Mal at an 8.81.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll see if it holds its like rating, but it's on again. I can't stress enough. Part 4 may be my favorite part, but part 5 is the best season. Period.
And I think
So
that's a
good.
great way to wrap this up.
Fighting gold.
All right. So thank you all there for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoy it because we always enjoy bringing this stuff to you. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can join us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. Shoot us an email if you have any questions or if you have any ideas for topics you'd like us to talk about in the future. Links to all these things will be down below in the description. As always, I have been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, Natai.
Good night, and keep on drinking and posing at the same time because that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is. Hey, Natai, do you hear that?
What's that?
Do you hear that?
What is that? Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.